Hey all you beautiful people, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. Either way, we found each other and I'm so glad that we did. So today I'm going to talk about something a little bit serious. I might throw in a joke or two, just to lighten the mood. But I'm going to talk to you about Senor Loken Syndrome. Yes, it is a disease that I was diagnosed with when I was 12 years old. It affects the kidneys, the liver, the eyes, and they are not exactly sure what else because it is so rare. When I was diagnosed with it, we had to do genetic testing. Me, my sister, my mom, and my dad, we all did genetic testing that got sent off, and it come back that I had a mutated gene, which caused me to have Senor Loken Syndrome. And when the doctor come in, he looked at my mom and he said, "So you and your husband are related, right?" My mom looked at him like she was about to slap the piss out of him, okay? And she was like, no. And I was sitting there like thinking, what the fuck? I'm not inbred. And the doctor said, well, the disease that Courtney has, it only happens when the parents are related. And after genetic testing, we found out that my mom and my dad were 16th cousins, okay? 16th cousins. Not that big of a deal, right? But just so happened that it was such of a big of a deal that it caused me to have Senor Loken Syndrome. It causes your kidneys to fail, and there's a name for it. I will put it right here on the screen so you can see that because I cannot pronounce that. And there's also a name for the eye disease, which I've talked about before, but I will also link that over, right over here, so you can see that name. You can Google it if you want, but basically, it causes my kidneys to, pretty much the filter in my kidneys was like broken. It's like you need to change your brand filter, right? Because it was keeping all the toxins in, and I was peeing all of the good stuff that I needed out. So I was constantly thirsty. I peed a lot, which is like totally like gross to even think about, but like I pee exponentially amount. And after an ultrasound, we found out that my bladder is the size of a basketball. Like, who would have thought that my bladder would be the size of a basketball, right? Like, what the hell? And when they did more ultrasounds, they found out that one of my right kidney had shriveled up so much that it is now floating somewhere disconnected in my rib cage, just hanging out, living its dead life. And the other one is also shriveled up, but it's not as high. But they are disconnected, and I only have one kidney because I got a kidney transplant when I was 16, and went through dialysis. I went through hell. We'll have more story times on that. Also, like my last story time, whenever I explained that I lived in the hospital. Senor Loken is the reason I lived in the hospital. Okay, it was like the main reason. I'm like because my kidneys failed and I was so sick. But before I got diagnosed, they thought that I had juvenile diabetes or a hormone disorder, and I will never forget the day that my primary care physician asked me to go do a urine sample, and she come back out and she goes, "Courtney, did you pee in this or did you run warm water in it?" Because it was so clear. It looks like water. And that's when they realized that something was terribly wrong. And they sent me to University of Kentucky Hospital, Children's Hospital, which they did more testing and everything. And that's when they found out that I had Senor Loken Syndrome. The doctor come in at the hospital and said she's in chronic renal failure. She has to go on dialysis. And he said, and I quote, "She go on dialysis for a little bit, she get a kidney, she be fine." And that is exactly how he sounded. I'm not being like cultural inappropriate here. That's how he sounded. And I didn't understand it completely because I was like 12. But my mom completely lost it. I mean, she completely just lost her mind, like thinking, that her youngest child is possibly going to die because the renal failure. And Senor Loken Syndrome is so rare that when I was diagnosed back in 2006, no, 2007, it was either 2006, 2007, around that area, there were only 8 people in the world that had Senor Loken Syndrome. And when you Googled it, there was only one page that said anything about it, and it was like three sentences about it. Now you can find a little bit more because they have done more research and stuff on it, and that's how they found out that it can cause liver fibrosis as well, which luckily I do not have yet, or hopefully I never will have that. But also I read in a medical journal about Senor Loken Syndrome that it causes muscle weakness, joint pain, bone weakness, and that is something that I suffer from, and I am in chronic pain every single day of my life, and sometimes it is so hard to get out of bed. It is just exhausting living this way. And I will do a story time on what it's like, what life is like after you get a kidney, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's really not. And I thank God that I, got a kidney, and there was a selfless family that donated organs of their teenage son, and I got his kidney, and, I will forever be grateful for that. That is something that I'll always be grateful for. But Senor Loken Syndrome, back to that, it made me feel completely exhausted. It took all of the energy out of me. I remember laying in bed constantly, in the hospital constantly, for holidays, for birthdays, whatever. I was in the hospital because I was sick. I had not only Senor Loken Syndrome, but all of my vitamins and everything was always off, and I was constantly dehydrated, and it was really bad, and it caused my family a lot of stress, a lot of heartache. It caused me to have to grow up very quickly. I quit going to school because I could not make it throughout the day. I remember going through the first day of 8th grade, and I made it through first period, and I felt so sick to my stomach, and I went to the bathroom, and I threw up, and that's when I went down to the nurse, and I was like, I've got to go home. And they called my mom. She came and got me. And I thought, the next day, maybe I could try it again, because I love school and I love being around my friends. And I didn't want Senor Loken Syndrome to completely disrupt my life, but it did. So I went the second day of school, and I made it to second period, and I'll never forget the teacher, Mr. Massey. That is actually his real name. And I didn't get a book because I wasn't there the first day of school. So I told him, I need a book. And he was like, oh, why wasn't you here yesterday? What, was you out shopping? And for some reason, that broke my heart, because it was like, I wanted to be here, but I couldn't. And you're being a fucking smartass. And I was like, no, I was sick. And as soon as his class was over, I knew right then and there that, there was no way I was going to be able to make it through 8th grade. So I went to the nurse's station, and I called my grandmother and my mother, and they came and got me, and that was my last day of actually going to school. I made it to second period on the second day of 8th grade, and that was my last day of school, thanks to Senor Loken Syndrome. I was on what they call homebound, where a teacher comes maybe once, twice a week. But where I was in the hospital and stuff so much, I didn't really see my teacher a lot, so I learned as I go, and I did fairly well for teaching myself everything, and it was crazy because, like, I would read an entire math book. I would read an entire literature book. I would read an entire history book. I didn't have anything else to do. So when I did my homework, I knew everything. So I graduated high school with a 3.9 GPA, and that was shocking because of all the hell and stuff that I went through and how bad I felt going through dialysis after my kidney transplant, everything. And I was proud of myself when I got that diploma, and I did actually attend graduation, which I did not want to go to graduation. I really didn't. Like, in a small town, we all know everybody anyway, but I was like, you know what, I haven't been to school since 8th grade. I know that these people know me, but some of them don't. And what is going to be the point of me going to graduation? I didn't go to prom. I didn't go to junior prom. I didn't go to senior prom. And it wasn't because I didn't have a boyfriend or anything. It was just because I was, one, I cannot see in the dark, and I did not want to embarrass myself on my first, like, back to school thing. And secondly, because I didn't feel like I was part of that class. I had a few select friends that kept up with me while I was sick, and besides them, there was no reason for me to go to prom, so I didn't go to prom. And graduation, my mother was like, you know, if you don't go to graduation, you're really going to regret it for the rest of your life. And she's probably correct, because I did end up having a good time during graduation. I was really happy. I was really excited that I actually, like, walked and got my diploma. Plus, they had, like, this really, like, cute guy walk me because I can't see, so I needed someone to guide me. So they had this, like, cute guy in a tux that, like, walked me, and it was really sweet. But yeah, so living with Senor Loken Syndrome, it was hard. It was exhausting. I had to quit school, hospital visits. I was in the hospital more than I was out of the hospital. We will have a lot more hospital story times, including one where I get caught receiving oral sex. Shh. That might be next. We will see. But so I guess that's it. You know, Google Senor Loken Syndrome, because, you know, not a lot of people have it, and it's actually really interesting. And I would love to do more genetic testing, and I've thought about actually doing that just to see, like, how my genes are, like, what caused this. I know that they was like, oh, 16th cousins, you're inbred, but, like, my sister's fine. My sister's completely healthy. Nothing happened to her. I was just the lucky one, I guess. So, okay, you guys, I think I'm going to shut up now. I hope you enjoyed this story time. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I love you guys. I know that my schedule has been really fucked up, but I will fix that, you guys. A lot of stuff's been going on, and it's really crazy in my life right now. But I do love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.